priority over diplomacy, especially if we see PM's statement warning terrorists and their supporters?
Right. So I think the military tension certainly is increased. Although I must say that this particular trend of increasing military tension, it actually predates the Pahalgam massacre. I think the Pakistan Army's attitude has changed in recent times because you find that they are themselves violating the ceasefire agreement, which we signed 2021, and they are actually using covering fire by pushing terrorists across the line of control. So I feel this has a lot to do with Pakistan's own internal problems, because the politics is in disarray. I mean, one of the major political, let's say, groups led by Imran Khan, they're in jail now. So you can see that there is a certain degree of uncertainty and instability in Pakistan. The second thing is that also their security situation also has worsened. So you have the Baluch, those militant action there. In fact, today also today there's news that, they have attacked some of the Pakistan army people. And this has been going on for quite a while. It's not just the Baluch, the kind of the situation, but TPP, for example. Also, some of the other terrorist organizations, they have been actually active in Pakistan for quite a while now. So, and the economic condition is quite bad. There's the other thing. So they have their own situation. Now, diplomacy has to be always part of any crisis management. As the crisis develops, there's an external dimension to it. And certainly in the case of a crisis in South Asia, especially, let's say, India, Pakistan, in this particular case, there's always an external dimension because, let's say, both countries are assessing the external environment in which the crisis is unfolding, where the action-reaction cycle is building up. So, for example, if you remember, Prime Minister Modi has spoken to about 13 heads of state. He's spoken to both President Trump and Vice President Vance. Similarly, the External Affairs Minister has spoken to the French Foreign Minister and the Saudi Foreign Minister, Apart from that, about 30 ambassadors have been called to the Foreign Office, briefed by the Foreign Secretary and the other senior officials of the Ministry of External Affairs. So there are also reports, now I was reading in today's paper, that Saudi Foreign Minister, apart from the conversation with the External Affairs Minister, also spoke to the Pakistani Foreign Minister. So very clearly you will see that this kind of a diplomatic process will continue. And in one way, it is necessary also because, an unfolding crisis, because the Prime Minister is very categorical, resolute, and as to how India wants to address the menace of cross-border terrorism. So as it is an escalating kind of a situation, there's always action-reaction. India took a certain policy decision. Pakistan has done that. There has been exchange of fire on the line of control, line of control. So, as the situation develops, this is inevitable. So, I think there is something good because it gives you a lot of idea how to assess it, and that's the way to go. And this is not now, but all in the previous crises. If you go through the history, there's always an external dimension, and that is where diplomacy plays a very important role. Yes.
So, if we speak about Arab countries, so usually Pakistan is being supported. So some of them have spoken out, Arab countries have spoken out on this Pahalgam issue that has happened. So does this mean that Pakistan is more isolated now? What could it means to them?
I think what actually happened is that the Arab countries also are victims of terrorism, very clearly. So the point here is that, and Lashkar-e-Taiba is this offshoot TRF. Lashkar-e-Taiba is well known terrorist organization, banned in I think practically all countries. It's an organization banned in the by the UN Security Council Sanctions Committee. So it's a banned organization. Now, people who are there, diplomats, they know that these people have by and large, they get protection. By and large, they continue in different ways. If you ban an organization, it appears with a different name, opens a different account, it goes on. So they understand that in one way, the fact that this massacre is directly linked to an internationally banned terrorist organization, they understand the kind of a threat it poses to not just India, but practically everybody. Because Lashkar-e-Taiba is active in other countries as well. So the point is that you expect that. When PM was there in Saudi Arabia, he actually had, before the visit was cut short, he had a conversation with the Saudi Crown Prince, who was actually the effective ruler of Saudi Arabia. And that joint statement which issued, actually it has a strong language on cross-border terrorism. So that's one side of it. The other thing, of course, the Saudi foreign minister and prime minister has spoken to, I think, his Egyptian counterpart, if I'm not mistaken. So in one way, what's happening is, and also you find that Egypt also is a victim of terrorism. We all know that. So the point is that you find that External Affairs Minister has spoken. So it's inevitable that this kind of interaction is necessary. It will take place. I'm quite sure that it's a matter of time before the other, let's say, Arab leaders, they interact. In any case, the foreign officers brief practically all the important countries. So I think on that issue, I think one can be very clear. Now the other thing, of course, is that everybody knows Lashkar-e-Taiba is linked with the Mumbai terror attacks. Pakistan denied complete complicity in it. In fact, if you read a little bit of history, they said, yes, we will cooperate with you. And then the National Security Advisor, I forget his name, he was asked to stay away by the DGISI, not to come into this. And then Tahabur Rana has been extradited to India. Yeah. David Headley, Coleman Headley, is also facing trial. So the point is that now that Tahabur Rana is the custody of Indian authorities, now they know that a whole lot of other things will come out about what the linkages actually are. So the point is that the reaction that you see, the reaction tells you that unless Pakistan is decisively acting against terrorist elements in its own country, and still to learn the lesson that, the terrorists will not actually be of help to them. They might be using them, but ultimately they'll be affected by it. Very clearly you can see the situation inside Pakistan. So I think that pressure is something which I have no doubt the Arab countries will also want to subject Pakistan to that pressure. And Indian decision to put pressure on Pakistan, different across multiple fronts. I think the advantage of that is that this will also not only focus minds in Pakistan, whatever they might say, but focus minds in Pakistan. Because Pakistan also, what is the economic condition? We all know that. What kind of foreign investment they're getting? We all know that. So the point is that the people of Pakistan also realizing that this kind of politics is not going to pay them any dividends. In fact, they have a bad name abroad when they go abroad, that, wherever they go, Pakistanis always are looked at with great suspicion. What doesn't know what the linkages are, that sort of thing. So the point here is that that India ratcheting up the pressure will help, I think, in combination with all that we are reading, that active diplomacy being followed from the leadership, top leadership level up to the working level. I'm quite sure that will actually, hopefully, it will lead to some decisive result, hopefully.
Sir, both the UN Security Council and US Intelligence Chief, Tulsi Gabbard, have strongly backed India, calling for those responsible for attack to be punished. How significant are these statements from both? And do they represent one of the strongest shows of international support to India?
Well, I think international support has been there. If you read the statements by President Trump, for example, Then later on, UK Prime Minister is called, the French President is called, and a whole lot of President El-Sisi is called, you know. And Prime Minister actually had met the Saudi Crown Prince. So the point actually is that the pressure, diplomatic pressure, is certainly mounting. No doubt about that. Now, in the case of Tulsi Gabbard's statement, I would say that certainly is indicative that there could be a certain level of interaction between our respective intelligence agencies, like with other counterparts of intelligence agencies in other countries. You know, because it's an unfolding situation still, you know, sort of things are actually still being worked out in a certain way. So very clearly, this is a helpful statement. But as far as the US diplomacy is concerned, it will certainly be under President Trump's oversight and his direct intervention, because he made, I think, a statement yesterday about that. So they will be, certainly he will be actually following closely and possibly even, who knows, intervening. We don't know how he will intercede on this. Though, of course, I don't think his relations with Pakistan are particularly in a good shape. But there's nothing wrong with that, frankly. Because, I mean, it is the Pakistanis which actually spoiled the American attempt to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan. Everybody knows that, you know. So, so the point actually is that any international pressure is a very good thing. Because, you know, I mean, this is something that, you know, it's a matter of concern to the whole world. So in the case of the statement by the President of the UN Security Council, it's a presidential statement. So it is not a resolution passed by the UN Security Council. But normal practice is a presidential statement when they're issued and the Security Council's name is invoked. There is a draft statement, draft text of the statement, which is circulated among the members who are there. So I think the statement actually is very useful. In fact, I was just looking at it says to bring to justice, including accountability for perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of the attack. It's quite significant. So I think, as I can see, the pressure is mounting. Yeah.
Sir, what do you think China will do or say in this situation? Since we saw that we were in, you know, process to build good relations with China, but now that this happened, this entire thing happened, how would China react in this situation?
Well, you see, the statement was made by the Chinese ambassador in New Delhi. And it is a fairly categorical statement, I should say. I have not read any reports about the Chinese Foreign Office in Beijing issuing a statement. But the ambassador saying something like this on a sensitive issue like this, it wouldn't have been done unless it has the approval of his superiors in Beijing. Maybe at the highest level, one doesn't know, but certainly at a senior enough level for him to make that statement. Now, the Chinese have their own problem because they get embarrassed by Pakistani activities. And not the first time. It's happened to UN Security Council earlier, if you remember, that Hafiz Saeed's son, Talha Masood, something like that, I forget his name, when the Chinese put a technical hold on that person for being put on the terrorist list. And then they were actually called to account in the UN Security Council. They explained your technical hold. Now, the point is that they have been embarrassed by these situations. They have themselves been under attack in Pakistan. We all know that. The Chinese citizens have been attacked. Chinese projects have been attacked in Pakistan. So, this is something, and also there is this feeling, of course, the Pakistanis collaborate with the Chinese in terms of their own issues, but, you know, the area, the AFPAC area, which is in a way not quite, quite fully under control of the Pakistani military in that sense. So there's always the anxiety as to, you know, who are the elements who are there, who are anti-Chinese elements. And because that's why there were attacks taking place in mainland China, mainland Pakistan, if you remember. So I have a feeling, the two things I can draw from this. One is that that they will be perhaps, hopefully, put some pressure on Pakistan, that is sort your, clean your house, number one. The second thing is that perhaps they would, in one way, in case the crisis escalate, perhaps their signaling would be of a different kind. I'm not sure. I'm not in the government. And the government obviously knows far more than I do as a private citizen. But my sense is, for example, if you see the Galwan situation, they were the attempt to play the two fronts. So the question is now whether the two-front situation might arise. I think the Indian Army is quite capable now, quite confident that they can manage it. But it also depends upon the attitude of the Chinese military, because Chinese have not all the time supported the Pakistanis. 1971, if you remember, there was of course the Soviet pressure on them, but on other occasions also, 1965 and those times, they have not actually really gone all out in support of the Pakistanis. Because, India is a big country. They have a certain equity in relations with India. The world is in a very different place now. So, they'll have to take all these things into balance. Of course, India is prepared for all situations. And, from what I read and I follow, the Indian Army feels quite confident about this. But the fact of the matter is that, all these factors do, weigh on people's mind, the leader's mind when they take certain decisions. So the fact that the Chinese ambassador spoke out on that quickly enough means that there has been consultation with this foreign officer.
So one final question. Iran has offered to help mediate between India and Pakistan. So do you think this could actually help reduce the tension?
I'm sure you'll find many other countries offering their good offices. The Saudi foreign minister, as I mentioned to you, the conversation between him and our minister, and the conversation between him and the Pakistani foreign minister. So it's possible that some others might be saying, they may not be saying openly. I don't know. Why should he say that openly without first finding out? But maybe there are some other, their own diplomatic environment in which Iran finds itself. That's why they're doing it. We don't know. But, this is the diplomacy is a very complex game.
सर, ये जो JNK का टेरर अटैक था, इसके चलते इंडियन आर्मी ने भी कंफर्मेशन दिया कि LoC पे फायरिंग है दोनों तरफ से. कितना जो है गंभीर है ये सिचुएशन इस टाइम अगर हम इसकी बात करें. PM का भी अगर हम जो उन्होंने अपना स्टेटमेंट इशू किया, उसमें बोला कि टेररिस्ट नहीं बख्शे जाएंगे. फिर हम देखें ईरान एक तरह से जो है अपना जो है मीडिएटर के रूप में आने की कोशिश कर रहा है. तो इन सारी चीजों की बात करें, साथ ही साथ हम चाइना का अगर देखें तो चाइना किस तरीके से रिएक्ट करे, तो इन सारी चीजों को
देखिए, सिचुएशन तो परिस्थिति तो जटिल है, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. क्योंकि भाई एक आतंकवादी हमला बहुत जबरदस्त है और निहत्थे लोगों को मासूम लोगों को मारा गया, चुन चुन के मारा गया. तो इससे एक किस्म से जो है, जो जनता में जो घृणा की भावना है, जो गुस्से की भावना है, जो ये भावना है कि भाई ये बहुत हो गया, ये भावना तो स्वाभाविक है. इस पे कोई भी देश के नेता हैं, उनको तो उस पे जो है नेचुरली उस पे तो उनको उसको भावना को ध्यान रख करके उन्हें अपनी पॉलिसी बनानी पड़ेगी, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. तो ये तो जो डेवलपमेंट हुआ है बॉर्डर पे, ये डेवलपमेंट खाली पहलगाम वाले सिचुएशन से ही नहीं, उससे पहले से चल रहा है. क्योंकि जो 2021 का जो सीज फायर एग्रीमेंट था कि भाई आपस में जो है वो गोलीबारी नहीं होगी दोनों फौजों के बीच में लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के ऊपर, वो उसको अग्रीमेंट को पाकिस्तान की फौज ने कई बार तोड़ा है उसको. और ये अभी पिछले कुछ समय से आप ये देखिए कि ये घटनाएं जो हैं कि पाकिस्तान की तरफ से फायरिंग हो रही है, ये घटनाएं बढ़ रही हैं. और ये घटनाएं बढ़ रही हैं पहलगाम की स्थिति से पहले की. और उसके साथ साथ जो उनके प्रयास हैं कि भाई आतंकवादियों को जो है लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल की तरफ से इसको भेजा जाए, वो जो है उसके दो तरीके हैं। एक तो मतलब कुछ लोग छुप के आ सकते हैं क्योंकि वो फेंस को कर ले, कुछ ये है कि वो जो है वो कवरिंग फायर करती है पाकिस्तान आर्मी दूसरी तरफ से, मतलब उनके जो क्या लॉन्चिंग पैड बने हुए हैं, तो वहां पे कुछ लोगों को बुलाया और कहा जो उनको तैयार किया और ट्रेनिंग उनकी मिलती है पूरी कि वो जो है तैयार किया उनको कि अच्छा आप क्रॉस कीजिएगा और हम आपको कवरिंग फायर प्रोवाइड करेंगे। और कवरिंग फायर का मतलब ये है कि भाई इंडियन आर्मी रिस्पॉन्ड करेगी, तो अगर जवाब करेंगे तो आप जो कहीं और से निकल जाएगा। तो ये इस प्रकार के प्रयास हो चुके हैं पहले भी, और कश्मीर के अंदर, जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर ये एनकाउंटर आतंकवादियों से भी चल रहे हैं बड़े इस दौरान। तो ये जो इसके वजह से जो है लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के ऊपर विशेष रूप से जो है टेंशन जो है उसका बढ़ना स्वाभाविक है, उसमें कोई शक नहीं है, और ये चलेगी अभी। और खासतौर से पहलगांव में जो मतलब जिस प्रकार से आप कहें तो घृणापूर्वक जो उनका जो है वो जो मतलब कायरतापूर्वक जो उन्होंने किया है आतंकवादियों ने, उसकी वजह से टेंशन तो स्वाभाविक है बढ़ेगी। तो अब प्रश्न ये है कि इसको जो है ये जो घटना चक्र किस प्रकार से आगे चलेगा, ये इसके ऊपर प्रधानमंत्री ने अपना वक्तव्य दिया वहां पे बिहार में। इसके अलावा जो है कैबिनेट कमेटी सिक्योरिटी में उन्होंने डिसीजन लिया इसके ऊपर, और साथ में जो है मतलब फौज को आदेश दिए गए कि भाई आप अलर्ट रहिए क्योंकि ये ऐसी घटनाएं और बढ़ेंगी। तो एक प्रकार से जो ये टेंशन है, तनाव जो है बढ़ रहा है। इसके अलावा जो है फिर साथ साथ जो है क्योंकि एक प्रकार से जो आतंकवाद है वो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मुद्दा बन गया है, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संकट का मुद्दा बन गया है। तो उसमें चाहे पाकिस्तान ले लीजिए, चाहे आप जो है अरब देश ले लीजिए, चाहे अफगानिस्तान ले लीजिए या और देश ले लीजिए, तो ये जो है इस प्रकार की घटनाएं बढ़ रही हैं क्योंकि इनका जो एक नेटवर्क बना हुआ है, उस नेटवर्क से ये एक अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संकट पैदा हो गया है। तो राजनयिक स्तर के ऊपर, डिप्लोमेसी के स्तर के ऊपर जो है जो रिएक्शन आया है बड़े बड़े नेताओं का, चाहे वो अमेरिका का हो या इंग्लैंड का हो या फ्रांस का हो या रशिया का हो या चाइना के एम्बेसडर ने बोला यहाँ पे, तो इसके वजह से फिर और लोगों ने बोला, कई लोगों ने किया। तो ये जो है एक प्रकार डिप्लोमेटिक प्रेशर थोड़ा बन रहा है इसके लिए, और ये डिप्लोमेटिक प्रेशर बनाए रखने के साथ साथ जो है बॉर्डर पे सिचुएशन जो है मैनेज करने के लिए जो जो सरकार जो कदम उठाएगी उसका जो मतलब उसका जो है आप समझिए फॉल आउट जो है जो लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल में पड़ेगा, उस फॉल आउट को मैनेज करने के लिए आपको चाहिए मिलिट्री का। तो ये तो चीज है। दूसरा ये कि डिप्लोमेटिक जो है इंटरेक्शन चल रहा है, तो प्रधानमंत्री ने बात करी तो सऊदी अरेबिया के जो विदेश मंत्री हैं उनकी हमारे विदेश मंत्री से बात हुई, उनकी बात जो है फिर पाकिस्तान विदेश मंत्री से बात हुई। तो कुछ ना कुछ इस प्रकार के जो हैं आप समझिए पैरेलल कॉन्वर्सेशन चलेंगे। अब हमारे लिए जो है सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि हमारे नेतागण जो हैं उनको ये देख रहे हैं कि भाई अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे जो है इस घृणित जो घटना है उसका जो है कितना रिएक्शन हुआ, जिससे कि लोगों को जो शॉक मतलब हुआ एक प्रकार से दुनिया भर में। तो अब उसमें जहां पे पहलगांव में एक नेपाली नागरिक भी मरे, आप सोचिए हैं। तो मतलब ये कहने का कि ये जो वर्ल्ड में एक किस्म से एक इशू दोबारा बढ़ के आ गया है, तो जाहिर है इसके ऊपर जो है इस प्रकार से जो है आप समझिए कि ये कूटनीतिक वार्तालाप चलते रहेंगे इसमें।
सर, आप इस्लामाबाद में आपने शुरू किया है, तो जो अरब कंट्रीज हैं देखा गया है कि पाकिस्तान को काफी सपोर्ट रहा है पहले, बट अभी की अगर हम स्थिति की बात करें तो अरब कंट्रीज ने भी इस पूरे वाक़े को कंडेम किया है, उन्होंने इस पर बातचीत की। तो क्या पाकिस्तान की जो डिप्लोमेसी है या पाकिस्तान जो है वो एक आइसोलेशन में जा रहा है, क्योंकि हमने देखा कि जो उनके चीफ थे उन्होंने ऑन एयर एक्सेप्ट किया कि वो पहले ऐसी एक्टिविटीज में इन्वॉल्व रहा है पाकिस्तान। तो इन सारी चीजों पे
देखिए, अब जैसे प्रधानमंत्री सऊदी अरेबिया गए थे तो उनके क्राउन प्रिंस से उनकी बात हुई वहां पे, और उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया। तो जो उनका जो संयुक्त वक्तव्य निकला शीर्ष स्तर के ऊपर, उसमें जाहिर है उन्होंने कहा कि ये जो इस प्रकार की चीजें जो है कोई भी इसको किसी को मंजूर नहीं है ये। तो एक प्रकार से आप देखिए, क्योंकि सऊदी अरेबिया ले लीजिए, ईरान और पाकिस्तान के बीच में एक दूसरे में लड़ाइयां हुई है अभी रिसेंटली अटैक्स में, क्योंकि ईरान कहते हैं कि भाई जो हमारे आपके यहाँ के जो लोग हैं, जो भी मतलब आप समझिए इनके जो ग्रुप के लोग हैं वो हमारे अटैक कर रहे हैं। पाकिस्तान कहता है कि आपके लोग हमारे पर अटैक कर रहे हैं। तो एक प्रकार देखा जाए तो ये समस्या ईरान के साथ भी है, एक दृष्टिकोण देखा पाकिस्तान के साथ भी समस्या है। लेकिन पाकिस्तान जो है सोचते हैं कि अभी भी हम ये टेररिस्ट को जो प्रॉक्सी बना करके इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो शायद हमें पता नहीं क्या मिल जाएगा। तो ये जो एक मानसिकता बन गई है उसको निकालने के लिए एक दो ही तरीके हैं कि उनको जो है, अब जैसे तहव्वुर राणा को भारत में उसका क्या कहते हैं उसको समर्पित किया यूएस गवर्नमेंट ने, तो अब यहाँ पे है वो मुंबई टेरर अटैक की वजह से उनको यहाँ पे लाया गया। अब यहाँ पे उसको जो है जब वो बयान उनके आएंगे क्या कहते हैं इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज के इंटरोगेशन के बाद जो बयान निकलेंगे, जो वो तहव्वुर राणा जो अपनी बात बताएगा कि भाई ऐसे ऐसे आईएसआई इन्वॉल्व है, फला, वो सबको मालूम है, लेकिन वो एक जो आदमी इन्वॉल्व है उसमें वो ऐसा बयान देगा तो पाकिस्तान की जो छवि है, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय छवि, वो तो ऑलरेडी बिगड़ चुकी है, वो मिट्टी में है, तो और खराब होगी। और ये मना कर रहे हैं। अभी भी उनका रिसेंट वो आपके जिसका बात किया आपने डिफेंस मिनिस्टर, उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं हमारा मुंबई में कोई मतलब नहीं था कि वो उनके वो वॉइस के रिकॉर्डिंग है लोगों के बाद, उनके लोगों ने एडमिट किया है। वो डेविड हेडली ने जब उनके जो सीआईए के जो लोग गए इंटरोगेशन के लिए, एफबीआई सीआईए के, उसने एडमिट किया। तो अब ये तहव्वुर राणा की ये बात हुई, तो मतलब ये कि आप डिनाई तो करोगे, इनकार तो करोगे, लेकिन सबको पता है जब भी वहां पे उनकी हालत इतनी खराब है, उनकी आर्थिक परिस्थिति जो है सबको मालूम है क्या हालत है उनकी, लेकिन फिर भी वो सोचते हैं कि भाई हमें कुछ न मिल जाएगा। तो भाई अगर एक इस प्रकार का नेतृत्व है पाकिस्तान में तो उसके लिए तो प्रेशर तो डालना ही पड़ेगा, बिना प्रेशर के कैसे काम होगा। तो ये जो मतलब, और प्राइम मिनिस्टर से देखिए ना, इतना घृणित घटना घटी यहाँ पे, सारे क्या कहते हैं भारतवर्ष में, और नेपाल का एक नागरिक था उसमें डायरेक्टली, उसमें मुंबई में कई देशों के नागरिक थे, वो जो है उनका क्या मरे उसमें। तो ये तो जाहिर है कि इस घृणित घटना के बाद तो रिएक्शन भी होगा, और भारत सरकार जो कह रही है कि हमें इसमें अब कुछ नतीजा निकालना पड़ेगा, तो समझते हैं जब भी उन्होंने, ट्रंप ने अपना वक्तव्य दिया, वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ने वक्तव्य दिया अपना, आपने जिक्र किया तुलसी गाबार्ड का, उन्होंने वक्तव्य दिया, तो और लोग भी कर रहे हैं ये बातें, तो सऊदी अरेबिया भी बोल रहा है। उनके क्राउन प्रिंस का जो स्टेटमेंट आप देखिए, वो संयुक्त वक्तव्य जो है प्रधानमंत्री के साथ जो उन्होंने इशू किया है, साफ जाहिर है।